This road is private. Access is already approved. Only the 0.1% continue forward. The gate opens smoothly. No delay, no interruption. Airspace is controlled. Movement is vertical here. Time belongs to the estate. Arrival feels effortless. Everything moves as planned. Structure replaces chaos. Verification is routine. Security is calm. Nothing feels rushed. Inside, the space feels open. Movement flows naturally. Design guides direction. Elevation changes perspective. Distance creates clarity. Power feels lighter here. Land is not the limit. Territory expands outward. Mobility builds influence. Below ground lies infrastructure. Stability is engineered. Permanence is intentional. This is not just a home. It is a controlled environment. And this is only the beginning. From above, the estate feels balanced and precise. Wide structures reflect discipline. Movement is constant but controlled. Nothing is random here. Order defines everything. Decisions are made calmly. Numbers update quietly on the screen. There is no urgency in posture, only preparation. Preparation sustains dominance. Protection feels effortless. Systems operate continuously. Risk is reduced before it appears. Confidence grows from preparation. Stability becomes natural. Mobility creates opportunity. Opportunity creates leverage. Leverage builds advantage. Advantage builds power. And power moves silently. Luxury is controlled calm. Not excess, not noise, but structured peace. Peace strengthens clarity. Below the beauty lies resilience. Independent systems protect continuity. Autonomy removes vulnerability. Preparedness defines stability. Stability protects influence. Isolation sharpens focus. Distraction disappears behind these walls. Clarity strengthens decision-making. Structure reinforces discipline. Discipline compounds power. Connections extend worldwide. Movement follows strategic paths. Alignment replaces competition. Expansion feels controlled. Influence spreads quietly. Height alters perception. The world below feels manageable. Distance reduces noise. Calm strengthens authority. Perspective shapes leadership. Departure is intentional. Nothing leaves without purpose. Movement carries strategy. Strategy carries weight. Weight creates impact. Freedom expands influence. Territory widens perspective. Control remains steady. Expansion feels natural. Nothing feels forced. Closure does not signal fear. It signals discipline. Access remains selective. Structure remains intact. Control remains constant. Decisions become permanent. Documentation preserves structure. Commitment replaces hesitation. Responsibility replaces impulse. Influence becomes lasting. Light shifts across the estate. Operations continue unchanged. Time flows without pressure. Systems remain aligned. Dominance remains steady. Data never stops moving. Information fuels stability. Preparation prevents weakness. Awareness protects power. Control deepens silently. From this height, the world feels organized. Movement below becomes distant. Noise loses strength. Clarity strengthens perspective. Perspective strengthens control. Mobility remains effortless here. Time is used efficiently. Distance becomes manageable. Opportunity stays within reach. Movement protects advantage. Every return reinforces structure. Every movement carries purpose. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels unstable. Confidence defines the rhythm. The estate guides direction naturally. Paths are intentional. Access is layered. Freedom exists within boundaries. Boundaries protect stability. Awareness remains constant. Information flows quietly. Preparation reduces uncertainty. Discipline prevents weakness. Control remains steady. Security operates without tension. Protection is routine. Risk is anticipated early. Confidence grows from preparation. Stability becomes permanent. Expansion continues beyond land. Mobility widens reach. Access multiplies influence. Influence grows quietly. Growth remains controlled. Infrastructure supports the visible strength. Independent systems ensure continuity. Autonomy removes dependency. Preparedness sustains structure. Structure sustains dominance. The estate remains balanced, open yet protected. Prestige above, structure beneath, everything aligned. This is engineered stability. Only the richest 0.1% sustain this structure. Discipline defines the environment, control defines the lifestyle, and control begins here. Here, access is no longer symbolic, it's operational. Clearance upgrades do not happen by request. They happen when someone decides you're useful. Every step forward removes another layer of the world you used to know, and once upgraded, you're expected to move with precision. The second gate is different. It doesn't welcome you, it measures you. This gate is built for people who never hesitate, because hesitation creates vulnerability, and vulnerability does not survive inside elite territory. You either pass clean or you never return. Everything that connects you to the outside world is removed. Signals are silenced. Devices are sealed. Not for privacy. Privacy is a weakness. This is containment of information. Because information leaks are more dangerous than bullets. And in this world, information is the first weapon. This isn't a residence anymore. It's a moving map of influence. Routes are calculated like chess lines. Every location has a purpose. Every purpose has a cost. The richest 0.1% don't travel for pleasure. They travel to reposition power. Movement here is rehearsed. A convoy is not transport, it is a statement. Speed is controlled, spacing is disciplined, timing is perfect. Because if you're the target, you don't get a second chance. The richest 0.1% don't rely on luck. They rely on systems built to prevent surprise. Arrival is an inspection, not a moment. Security doesn't look at you. Security looks through you. They scan what you brought, what you carry, what you represent. Because a person can be clean and still be a threat. Inside this community, threats are identified early and removed quietly. Now the estate changes again. Above ground is luxury. Below ground is capability. This elevator doesn't take you to comfort. It takes you to the part that runs everything, where power is stored like electricity and released only when required. Listen closely. This is the heartbeat, not music, not applause, not attention, data moving faster than emotion ever could. The richest 0.1% protect this room more than they protect themselves. Because if you control data, you control outcomes. And outcomes are the only language spoken here. This corridor isn't decorated with art. It's lined with decisions that became law. Documents here don't describe reality. They create it. What gets signed in this estate becomes policy outside it. That's the difference between rich and ruling. There's no shouting here, no performance, no ego on display, only calm voices making permanent moves. This is where wealth becomes leverage, and leverage becomes control. Once you witness this, you stop believing in chance. At this point, you feel it. Your old identity becomes irrelevant. Not because you're smaller, but because you're untrained for this level. Here, power requires obedience to process. Even billionaires follow protocol in this place, because protocol is what keeps dominance clean. When airspace belongs to you, time belongs to you. The richest 0.1% don't sit in traffic with the world. They move above it. They watch it from angles no one else can afford. Air mobility isn't luxury. It's a tactical advantage. And advantage is the currency of this estate. Even landing is controlled. Nothing here is casual. Every entry point is measured, recorded, secured, because the estate doesn't trust comfort. It trusts control, and control is built into every movement. Art here is not decoration. It is a vault of history and influence. Pieces are acquired the way companies are acquired. Quietly, strategically, permanently. Even culture becomes an asset at this level, because assets build legacy. Now you see what the estate truly is. It's a living engine connected to global systems. Markets are not followed here. They are anticipated, and anticipation becomes profit. Profit becomes influence. Influence becomes immunity. This is the brain of the fortress. Sensors, cameras, drones, thermal tracking, always active. The estate doesn't wait for danger, it detects patterns before danger forms. That's what separates the 0.1% from everyone else. They don't fight chaos, they prevent it. The hallway itself is a test, a narrow passage that forces commitment forward. You can't drift, you can't turn casual. Everything here demands clarity, because unclear people make expensive mistakes, and expensive mistakes are unacceptable at this altitude. Even health is engineered, not for comfort, for continuity. The richest 0.1% protect time the way others protect money, because time is the asset that can't be replaced. Here, longevity is strategic. Legacy requires survival. Strength is maintained like a portfolio. Discipline is trained into muscle memory, because pressure breaks unprepared people. And this life is constant pressure. You don't rise here by motivation, you rise by routine. Reflection forces honesty. At this level, your weaknesses become visible, not to others, to yourself. And once you see them, you either fix them or the estate replaces you with someone who will. That's the hidden cruelty of elite life. Here's the moment nobody talks about. Once the vault seal's behind you, the world changes. You can't pretend you didn't see this. You can't go back to ordinary thinking, because now you understand the machine, and the machine expects loyalty. Even peace is curated. The garden is designed to reduce noise inside the mind, because powerful decisions require calm nerves. This is meditation with purpose, not relaxation, recalibration. The richest 0.1% rest to sharpen, not to escape. Machines reflect standards. Everything here is built to respond instantly, because the person who lives here demands instant results. Delay feels like disrespect. So systems are engineered around speed. This is how power trains itself. Water creates roots without borders. Roots create opportunities without permission. The richest 0.1% don't ask for access, they build access. Movement becomes the advantage, and advantage becomes the lifestyle. Night does not mean vulnerability here. Night means protocol. Systems shift into higher alert, not lower, because this estate is never off. It is always operating. Dominance doesn't sleep. This is the war room without uniforms. No weapons on the table, only outcomes. Corporate moves, political alignments, market pressure, everything is decided with calm posture, because emotion is noisy, and noise reduces precision. When you own departure, you own timing. When you own timing, you own outcomes. The richest 0.1% don't wait for the world to open. They leave before the world understands. Momentum is the advantage, and momentum creates fear in competitors. Power leaves, then returns improved. Every trip adds leverage. Every meeting adds influence. The estate is a base, not a cage. It is the origin point of expansion, and expansion is the rule. Here, names are irrelevant. Only clearance matters. Only results matter. Identity is reduced to access level and capability. This is how elite systems stay clean. They remove personality from power. This door marks the end of entry. After this, you are inside the real circle, where people don't talk about wealth. They talk about ownership and control. And control is never shared easily. It is granted under conditions. Legacy is recorded intentionally here, not for history books, for successors. The estate doesn't plan for years, it plans for generations. This is how the 0.1% stays the 0.1%, by building continuity, not moments. Dominance doesn't feel loud here, it feels calm. Because panic belongs to people who lack control. This estate removes panic by removing uncertainty. You don't guess, you verify. You don't hope, you execute. Layers lock in place, not because they fear outsiders, because outsiders are unpredictable, and unpredictability is expensive. This is the final principle of the richest 0.1%. They pay to eliminate uncertainty. What you've seen is activation, the estate is now fully awake, movement is controlled, systems are aligned, but part 3 is where it becomes irreversible. Restricted environments will open, and choices will stop being optional. Part 2 ends with a truth. Entry is not the achievement. Staying inside is. Because living among the richest 0.1% means accepting their rules, and their rules demand transformation. In part 3, the transformation becomes permanent. The system upgrades your access, but it also upgrades your responsibility. At this level, you don't visit restricted spaces. You enter them because a decision has already been made about you. And once that decision is made, your life becomes a controlled operation. The richest 0.1% don't gamble with access. They convert it into obligation. The third gate doesn't feel like entry, it feels like a border between worlds. On one side, wealth and comfort, on the other, capability and consequence. This gate is engineered to slow the unprepared mind, because beyond it, mistakes become permanent. Communication is cut again, deeper this time, because the closer you get to the inner layer, the more dangerous words become. Here, a sentence can shift billions. A leak can destroy reputations in minutes. So the estate does what it always does. It removes uncertainty. Silence becomes the price of belonging. Notice the doors. No names, only codes. Personality is removed from power on purpose. Names invite emotion. Emotion invites weakness. Codes invite discipline. Discipline invites control. This is how the 0.1% stays protected. They depersonalize everything. Even identity becomes a clearance level. This is not a boardroom, it's a decision chamber where outcomes are engineered. They don't discuss dreams here, they discuss execution. Every seat represents a sector, a supply chain, a market. When the richest 0.1% gathers in silence, the world changes outside. Not because of noise, because of alignment. Markets move like a nervous system. This estate watches the pulse in real time. But watching isn't the advantage. The advantage is prediction, and then action. They don't wait for proof, they create proof. That's the difference between being rich and being untouchable. This is where the line is crossed. A signature here doesn't finalize a deal. It finalizes a direction. Once sealed, it becomes a machine that keeps moving without apology. People outside will call it business. People inside call it control. And control, once written, does not reverse easily. Feel the subtle shift. Your personal life becomes irrelevant to the system. The system doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your function. At this tier, you become a role, not a person. It sounds cold until you realize it's also freedom, because roles can be protected in ways people cannot. Continuity is guarded here like a treasure. Not comfort, continuity. Time is the rarest asset in the 0.1%, so they engineer longevity into routine, prevent risk, reduce weakness, extend capability. Legacy demands survival, not just success. Discipline is trained, not assumed. The strongest people here don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. Pressure is constant, so preparation becomes lifestyle, because unprepared power collapses under its own weight. And collapse is the one thing this estate never allows. This isn't technology, it's leverage stored as electricity. Data isn't collected for curiosity, it's collected for advantage, for defense, for anticipation. The world believes power is money. Here, power is knowing what happens next, and knowing it before everyone else does. Security here is not reaction, it's prediction engineered into architecture. Patterns are flagged before threats form. Movement is analyzed. Signals are measured. The estate doesn't fear intrusion, it simply makes intrusion pointless. Below the beauty, there is survival infrastructure. Independent power, independent water, independent stability. If the outside world collapses, this estate continues. Because the 0.1% never relies on public systems. They build private continuity. That is what real wealth purchases, independence from chaos. When you control airspace, you control timing, and timing controls outcomes. The richest 0.1% doesn't travel for escape. They travel to reposition influence. Movement is tactical. Routes are strategic. Even the sky becomes a tool. This is where power stops being personal. It becomes logistical. Supply chains, resource flow, access corridors. The 0.1% doesn't compete in markets. They reroute them. They don't chase opportunities, they manufacture them. And once manufactured, they defend them ruthlessly. Water is freedom with fewer rules. It creates options the land cannot. The estate expands beyond gates into open routes. Routes create leverage. Leverage creates safety. Because the more options you have, the less anyone can corner you. Options are power disguised as mobility. Even rest is strategic here. The mind is recalibrated like a weapon being cleaned. Silence removes noise. Structure restores clarity. The 0.1% does not relax to forget. They relax to sharpen. That's why they stay ahead, because they recover with purpose. The deeper you go, the narrower the path becomes. The estate forces commitment through design. There are fewer exits, fewer distractions, fewer witnesses. This is not architecture, it's psychological pressure. It's testing your ability to stay calm under constraint, and only the calm survive the inner layer. This is the moment where choice becomes illusion. Approval means the system has accepted you, but acceptance is a contract. Once inside, you don't live freely, you live correctly. Rules become invisible but absolute, because the 0.1% protects itself by enforcing standards. Here, there are no guns on the table, only outcomes. Policy shifts, market pressure, influence realignment. This is warfare with numbers and agreements. It looks peaceful, but it is decisive. And decisive power is always the most dangerous kind. Owning the runway is owning time, and owning time is owning outcomes. Competitors wait for permission. The 0.1% moves before permission is even requested. Momentum becomes intimidation, because speed makes everyone else feel slow and weak. The estate is a base, not a destination. Influence leaves and returns stronger. Each trip compounds leverage. Each meeting compounds advantage. The 0.1% doesn't chase stability. They build systems that produce it repeatedly. Legacy is built through documentation and repetition. The estate records decisions like history in advance, not for museums, for successors. Generations are engineered here. The 0.1% doesn't plan a year ahead. They plan a dynasty ahead. At this altitude, emotions quiet down, not because you don't feel, but because feeling becomes noise. The estate trains you to choose clarity over comfort. Comfort makes people soft. Clarity makes people dangerous. This is the lock, not on the door, on your mind. Once you understand how this world operates, you can't unlearn it. Ordinary life becomes slow. Ordinary thinking becomes unbearable. That is the true transformation. The 0.1% doesn't just have more money, they have a different reality. Protection intensifies because stakes intensify. When influence increases, threats multiply, so the estate tightens the seal. Not out of fear, out of discipline. Fear reacts, discipline prevents, and prevention is the signature of elite survival. One more door, one more layer removed from the ordinary world. Here, people don't talk about being rich. They talk about ownership and control and permanence. And permanence requires sacrifices nobody sees. That's why most people never qualify. Threats aren't loud here. They're silent, patient, calculated. So the estate responds with silent measures, the kind that never makes headlines, because the 0.1% doesn't win with drama. It wins with prevention and precision. This is where meditation becomes weaponized. Breath steadies the mind. A steady mind makes clean decisions. Clean decisions create power that doesn't shake. The outside world calls this luxury living. Inside, it's training for stability under pressure. Pressure increases again, because the estate is designed to test you repeatedly, not with violence, with responsibility. Responsibility reveals weakness faster than danger does. If you can carry weight without breaking, you're allowed deeper. If you can't, the estate removes you politely. This is future thinking made visual. 10-year outcomes, 20-year positioning. Where others plan quarterly, this estate plans generational. Because the 0.1% doesn't play short games. Short games create short power, and short power is fragile. The meeting ends quietly. No celebration, no speeches, because execution is assumed, not praised. This is the calm before the world feels the ripple. Outside, people will call it unexpected news. Inside, it was scheduled. Now the estate is fully aligned. Systems are awake. Roots are prepared. The inner layer has accepted the plan. Part 4 is where the plan becomes visible in reality. Where dominance isn't discussed, it is demonstrated. And once demonstrated, it becomes legacy. Part 3 ends with a hard truth. Restricted access is not privilege. It is burden. The richest 0.1% doesn't live higher to feel special. They live higher because their decisions require isolation. Isolation protects clarity, and clarity protects dominance. You've entered the irreversible chamber. You've felt the discipline, the silence, the systems. Now the estate doesn't ask what you want. It demands what you will execute. In Part 4, the outcome arrives, and the world outside finally feels what was built inside. The signal is sent, not publicly, not loudly, quietly, precisely. Inside the estate, execution begins without emotion. Outside, nothing appears different yet. But decisions made in silence are already moving the world. Across continents, numbers begin to move, not violently, strategically. Sectors adjust, liquidity shifts, confidence rebalances, no headline explains it, but the source is here. Assets transfer quietly, ownership restructures without spectacle. What once belonged to many now belongs to fewer, and fewer means stronger. The richest 0.1% do not expand randomly. They absorb with intention. Competitors feel it before they understand it. Pressure builds without visible attack. Margins tighten, access narrows, because dominance rarely announces itself. It surrounds and closes in. Routes are redirected, supply shifts hands, resources flow toward controlled channels. The estate does not disrupt, it reallocates, and reallocation changes power permanently. The story begins to form outside. Speculation, analysis, debate. But narratives are predictable, and predictability is manageable. The estate never reacts to headlines. It writes conditions that create them. Protection intensifies as expansion completes. Laws align, regulations adjust. Every vulnerability is sealed before exposure, because execution without defense is unfinished power. Inside the estate, systems are rechecked, infrastructure stable, data secured, movement verified. The richest 0.1% never celebrates mid-operation. They verify first. Now the outside world begins to feel it. Jobs shift, investments realign, markets adapt. Most will never know why, but they will feel the change. Inside these walls, acknowledgement is silent. No applause, no celebration, only understanding. The move was clean, the outcome secured. The operation closes, irreversible, documented, protected. From this point forward, the world adjusts to a new balance of power. Execution ends, legacy begins. What was decided today will influence decades. This is how the richest 0.1% operates. Quietly, decisively, permanently. The ripple spreads. Currencies stabilize under new pressure. Industries adjust to invisible influence. No one announces the architect, but stability has a source, and that source sits behind secured gates. Some react too late. Some misunderstand the scale. They try to defend ground already repositioned. But timing is everything, and timing belongs to the estate. Smaller forces consolidate under larger umbrellas. Resistance fades into alignment. The estate doesn't destroy, it absorbs, and absorption strengthens what was already dominant. Expansion is not loud, it is logistical. Resources move, personnel shift, operations widen. Power scales without spectacle, moving the world forward in silence. Before celebration, there is reinforcement. Systems double-check stability. Every expansion must be protected. Every gain must be defended. The 0.1% secures power before enjoying it. Now the transformation is complete. There is no hesitation left. The mind operates differently. Fear dissolves. Doubt disappears. Clarity replaces everything. The outside world creates explanations. They assign credit. They assign blame. But narratives are surface-level reactions. The truth is simpler. Dominance was engineered long before the headlines appeared. The estate is no longer just a location. It becomes a symbol of structured power, of disciplined execution, of controlled influence, and symbols last longer than movements. What was built today extends beyond the present. Succession plans activate quietly. Next leaders are prepared. Next structures aligned. The richest 0.1% thinks beyond lifetimes. After execution comes stillness, not relief, control. Because once the system runs perfectly, panic disappears entirely. Stability becomes permanent as the new order finally takes hold. The perimeter locks again, layer after layer, not out of fear, out of discipline. Power remains protected because protection is engineered. Execution complete, expansion stable, influence confirmed. The richest 0.1% has finished the cycle. Now the world adjusts. Now the world adjusts to the unseen hands of the estate. The world stabilizes under a new balance, not chaos, not collapse, recalibration. Industries shift into alignment. Supply follows structure. Confidence returns quietly. Because dominance, when engineered correctly, creates order. This was never about one move. It was about permanent leverage. Control over flow, control over access, control over timing. Temporary power is loud, permanent power is silent. The circle tightens. Only those who proved discipline remain inside. Trust is not emotional here. It is tested through execution. Once you pass the test, you become part of the machine. The estate breathes again. Systems hum with quiet confidence. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is uncertain. Because uncertainty was removed before execution even began. Today's execution becomes tomorrow's foundation, documentation, structure, continuity. The richest 0.1% does not win for applause. It wins for inheritance. Outside, analysts try to explain what happened. They speak in numbers, but numbers are surface-level reflections. The true source remains untouched, hidden behind controlled gates, unseen yet undeniable. At this point, fear disappears completely, not because there are no risks, but because risk is understood, measured, neutralized. The mind at this level no longer reacts, it calculates. Everything is sealed, every layer secured, the system is stable, the execution permanent. This is what controlled dominance looks like: structured, precise, unshakable. From above, it appears quiet, almost peaceful, but beneath that calm is engineered power. Not explosive, enduring. But beneath that calm is engineered power, not explosive, enduring. The gates close again, not to hide, to preserve. Only the richest 0.1% remain inside. And inside, the world is designed. This is not luxury, it is infrastructure for influence, not wealth, architecture of permanence. The richest 0.1% do not chase the future, they build it quietly, then let the world adapt.